Hello everybody and welcome to the Real Housewives Edit. My name is Elle and I'm here to talk about the two loves of my life, editing and housewives. Today we are going to talk about the Real Housewives of Potomac because it is just amazing. Beyond just the season being great and everyone having something to say about Deborah and the whole issue with Candace and Chris and all of that good stuff, the editors are having so much fun this season. I think I've told you guys before, I believe that the Real Housewives of Potomac editors, not only do they have so much great stuff to work with, but I think they're deeply funny. You can just tell it in the way that they edit, like their timing and just how they add things in and what they add in. I just think they're a deeply funny crew. I would love to talk to them and find out if my suspicions are right. Thank you guys so much for subscribing, for liking the video, for commenting on it, for doing all the things. I'm so excited to see what 2023 brings this channel. Right now we're at like, I don't know, 3,400 subscribers. When we hit 3,500 subscribers, I'm going to post another throwback video that I'm really excited to cover with you guys. So if you're not subscribed already and you watch the video, which I know some of you do, you can always unsubscribe later, but just give me a chance. If you want to skip straight to the breakdown, the timestamp is below, but for the rest of us, are they gone? Oh my gosh, Jen Shah's sentencing is right around the corner. I really hope I get this video out before it actually happens, but I don't know why. I feel like it's like our sentencing or something. Like I just feel so invested in this sentencing. I think mainly because it is definitely going to happen that she's going to jail. I think sometimes with trials, you're always like, okay, will it happen or won't it happen or what don't we know? But here she pled guilty. So all we are waiting for now is the sentence. Are you guys interested in that? Let me know in the comments below. Another piece of housekeeping, I'm going to start doing some lives here. I did one last year just as a test and it was so much fun. But I am really getting my setup right so that the lives can look actually just like this and so that I can see your guys' comments and not be too distracted by them, but break down the scenes more in real time. Because one of the biggest things that's hard for me doing these videos is the lag between the scene coming out and me actually getting it to you guys. I'm always like, trying to hustle and get the edit done, but you guys know I have a real job as well, so I have to kind of split the difference with my time. But I think the lives are really gonna make it so we can be a lot more on topic with shows that just came out. So I'm perfecting that. I really hope that you guys will come to those lives when I eventually get them right and do them. So without me talking any further, let's just jump into this scene.
Perfect.
Hey,
Oh, we've missed you so much.
Hi.
How good? How are you?
Look at this hair.
Okay, so as Giselle walks in, it was sort of like a surprise because I know at the beginning when Ashley was walking into the restaurant, she was like, oh, we're gonna have one more person. And I think us as the audience are supposed to be like, who's that extra person, right? So when they have Giselle walking in, there's no music.
We've missed you so much.
Hi.
By taking the music out of it, it's almost like they want us as the audience to be like, wait, was Giselle invited to this? Is she the plus one? Like, what is going on here? Because the music sort of stops, which gives us a feeling of suspense. But then as soon as everyone, welcomes her and everyone's, hi, how are you doing? The music comes back in with this sort of exciting cue.
How good? How are you?
Look at this hair. I love that.
With a little bit of like an edge to it, which I think is very representative of who Giselle is. Like exciting, fun, with a little bit of an edge. I personally love Giselle as a housewife. I don't know if you guys feel the same, but I just think she's great. Like, she's definitely the person that I'd want to like come over to my house after she got a bunch of tea. But then I also know that she'd be getting a bunch of tea from me and going over to someone else's house and telling them everything. So I'd be scared of her and also like excited to be her friend, if that makes sense.
Hair. I love that hair. How are you? How you feeling?
I believe you were joining us tonight. I'm so ready.
Yes. I feel like I'm like an honorary member
Of the pretty young little thing.
Pretty little thing.
So it's like a really drawn out sort of hello where she's saying hello to everyone. And then she says the thing about like, I'm an honorary member of the Pretty Young Things, and they're all kind of chiming in with this sort of atmosphere building, I would say it is. Like, it's not really anything to push storyline forward. It's not really giving us much character development, but it is just sort of fun to watch. Like, it feels very something that you can relate with, right? Someone coming into the group, you're kind of going around giving like awkward one-arm hugs. That's exactly what she's doing here. I mean, it's just very typical stuff, but they really let this one go out long. I really think it's because of the PYT, the Pretty Young Things thing. That's kind of a trope and kind of something they wanted to really play up. There's obviously some shade thrown at Deborah's looks later on. I don't know if they're trying to sort of create this contrast. I'm not sure. Well, let's just keep watching.
Pretty little thing. Pretty little thing.
I thought it was Pretty Young Thing. I'm a pretty hot mama thing.
Okay, we'll make it work.
I know what we're gonna cheers to. Pretty little mama young things.
Yes.
That's what we're doing.
Okay, so this is just, again, creating atmosphere, right? They have a close-up of the shot as it's put down in front of Giselle, and then Deborah's like, you know what, I know what we're gonna toast to. So this is like very like, okay, girls are getting together. Now, if you guys have watched my channel, you guys know this is just to contrast what is about to come, because editing, great editing, is all about up and down, contrast, tone shift. If you just watch a scene and it was just all them like cheersing and like talking about Pretty Young Things and all that stuff, you're gonna be bored to tears and you're gonna switch the channel. But with the Housewives, what they have to do is they give you some of this to kind of give you like, it's like the candy, and then they give you the real meal, which is coming, which is what we're really kind of after, which is, you know, the tea with the Chris stuff and with Deborah and all that. And you know that's why Giselle is so excited to be here, because that's all she's here for, right?
She's Asian in reverse.
Wait, you in the chicken? Oh, she's and you have ice. It's watered down.
You always do that.
Mind your business, y'all.
If you gonna hang with the group, girl, you gotta play by the rules.
Okay, true.
Did you not know that this was like the application process?
So they're really trying to play up this thing like Ashley's got this separate friend group, right? They're really giving everyone close-ups, which is interesting. You know, like here's another close-up of another friend taking the shot. Like they're really playing it up. Like Ashley's got this group. It's different than the group that we're used to seeing. Obviously all those girls, well, I would say Deborah's probably the most thirsty to be like a friend of, but I would assume that if you are friends with Ashley and you're like, oh, we're filming a scene together, you're probably thinking like, hey, could this be my in? I know I'd be thinking that. I know that I would be a terrible, terrible housewife and terrible friend of, so anyway.
This is initiation.
Am I happy about this initiation? I'm not quite sure. Y'all don't wear no underwear.
There will be another round, and I will.
So I think what they're trying to do here by including that stuff about Giselle feeling, you know, she's obviously feeling like probably the oldest one in the group, probably the mother hen type of role, which I've been that person before, like especially because I've got a bunch of kids. When I'm around people without kids and they're like, oh my gosh, I went to, you know, a yoga class this morning and stuff, I'm like, I hate you, but I love you at the same time. I want to be you. And so you're kind of like torn between the idea of being like, oh, I'm with the cool kids, and also like, wait, but the cool kids are just like, what they do is just way beyond me. I think that's what they're trying to do with Giselle here, which is to sort of relate her to the audience as well. I think a lot of people that watch these shows would be able to relate to her, what she's going through right now.
And I will drink it.
Yes.
So, ladies, I have a question.
No.
Are y'all like hooking Ashley up with people?
I don't think she.
So you heard the music kind of change.
Yes.
So, ladies, I have a question.
No.
Almost a little bit suspenseful, a little bit, makes it a little bit more serious, less fun, right? And she says, I have a question. And then they close up on everyone in the group at the table except for Deborah. Giselle asks for something that's kind of, you know, innocuous, like, are you setting Ashley up? Again, this is a little bit of a setup of the drama that's about to come.
Help. I don't, honestly, I get a lot of DMs about this one right here.
Seeing her like go through her relationship with Michael, have y'all ever given her advice like, you need to be out?
So I wanted you guys to look at something there. There was this reaction shot they got of Ashley there while they're talking about like, oh, I get all these DMs about her, like she doesn't have any problem getting men or whatever. There's a reaction shot with her and she has a seafood tower in front of her. You can see the seafood tower is right in front of her. Before this clip actually started, like, but I didn't include it in the video, but the girls ordered a seafood tower and the seafood tower has not come yet. So the fact that it's in the shot that they have there with Ashley, it's quick enough that the editors, when they put it in, they're like, it doesn't matter, like no one's gonna really catch this. Of course, except on our channel, we're going to catch it. But it's just to remind you guys, they are taking shots for reactions. They want to build story with the reactions. If they don't get the right reaction to what someone is saying, they're gonna grab it from somewhere else in the dinner, because especially if they're not, saying anything and they want a great reaction shot, they're gonna grab it from wherever. So in this, they grabbed this reaction shot obviously from after the food came, which was later on in the scene, much later, but it just kind of worked with what Deborah was saying about, that they don't need to worry about hooking her up with people.
You need to be out.
I've known her for about 12 years.
Yeah. Okay, so you really have been like.
I remember seeing her posting when they started dating. I've been watching with a.
I thought that was such a weird reaction shot from Deborah as well. Like the other girl is talking and Deborah's sort of doing that thing. We've all done that little move before where someone else is talking. You were about to talk, but you were like, oh no, go ahead. But at the same time, you're like trying to save face a little bit because you're like, oh, I was talking at the same time and I'm just gonna let them talk. And so you sort of do the thing like, oh yeah, I'm totally right there with you with what you're saying. It's just weird that they kept the camera on Deborah during that. It's sort of like an awkward look for her, and it's got a little bit of an awkward face. She just looks a little awkward there. I just think they're really hazing Deborah. I don't think the editors like her at all. I would imagine she's very thirsty for camera time, and this is why they don't like her. I would imagine that the editors and producers are a little bit catty on this show, just like the women. I don't mean that in a bad way at all whatsoever. I'm catty in the way that I love watching these shows and wishing that I could say the things that they do in my real life. I don't really talk to anyone but you guys, so I don't have anyone to be catty to. Mainly just because I stay home, I work from home, I got the kids. I have friends, but I'm not catty to my friends. This is the place where I can be catty, is watching my ladies. I think it's just interesting that they show Deborah kind of looking awkward, and then later on they're gonna talk about her looks. Of course, Candace brings up her looks, which I'm gonna talk about in a different video. But they just seem to give her a lot of not very favorable reaction shots where she just looks a little bit awkward, a little bit thirsty. I just don't think they like her very much.
I've been watching with a, the side eye, but she needs to do what's best for her.
Right. And the
I thought that was weird too. They stopped the music when that girl said, I've been watching with a side eye.
I've been watching with a, the side eye, but she needs to do what's best.
They cut to Deborah while she's fixing her hair, and then the music stopped, almost like a hint to we should be watching Deborah with a side eye, or what do you guys think there? There's got to be some reason that they stopped the music there and put the camera on Deborah. Trust me, this was on purpose. They wouldn't just do that. They wouldn't just stop the music and have the reaction shot be of her looking kind of serious while she's fixing her hair, and that woman says that. So what do you guys think?
babies, the babies.
Exactly.
Okay, I haven't seen you ladies since y'all. Okay, so
party.
Because we need to.
Okay, so here comes Giselle. Here comes Giselle. Here she's doing her thing, right? So she's like, okay, great about all that stuff. I didn't really care anyway. So I haven't seen you guys since. And she like stops and waits. The music stops. It goes out.
Okay, I haven't seen you ladies since.
Because us as an audience, we are being directed, like the tea is about to come. You know, this is Giselle's favorite part. And now she's like, oh, the spring party, that's so funny. Oh, interesting, I wasn't even thinking of that, but since you guys said it, let's get into it, right? That's the vibe.
Some clarity on some things, right?
Yes. Everyone here was present when that all went down.
At the spring fling.
Yeah. At the spring fling. These are my faves.
And Giselle is such a dream for editors and producers. Just the fact that she keeps repeating things, right? First she's like, well, I haven't seen you since, right? And they fill in the blank, spring fling. And then she says, oh, but we need some things to clarify. Giselle always covers up doing like gossipy conversations with making it very like almost like serious, like business-like. Like she'll be like, okay, we got to clarify. Or, you know, I've seen her say like, I just want to sort of like clear the air, but she's about to get into mess, which I just love about her. She says, you know, we got to clarify some things. And then she repeats it again.
At the spring fling.
It's so perfect for editors because now they can cut straight to the spring fling and put the chyron below that says Karen's spring fling celebration of life. She's just awesome. She's a real pro.
Listen, Listen, we done some shots. We talking tonight, okay?
He is getting spilled.
So what happened?
Okay.
So Giselle then right away is just like, oh, we've had shots, we are going to talk, right? I wonder if that little piece that she said, actually she said that right after the shots were taken. I don't know, what do you guys think? But it just felt like sort of out of the blue, because just 1 second ago she was like, we have to clarify some things at the spring fling, right? I feel like something was cut out before that kind of got her in that like funny celebratory mood where she's like, now we've had shots, now the tea is being spilt, and even that friend is laughing. I think there was some sort of funny thing that went down that caused Giselle to say that, but it just kind of worked there without showing the funny thing right before.
Okay.
I just who wants to start.
So I'm at the bar, you know, waiting to get my drink, you know, standing there, and all the.
When I watched this, like my heart sank because I just knew they had the receipts, and I knew for a fact that it was not what she said. And the editors do not wait. As soon as she says, I was at the bar, they give you the transition into the flashback. Remember, in the flashback, they take out some of the color. They fade sort of some of the color so that us as an audience can really connect to like, okay, we're not watching present day, we're watching another time. They do this sound that really brings you into the flashback.
You know, waiting to get my drink, you know, standing there.
And that's, again, to cue us as an audience, like, we are going to a different time zone. You are not in current day. Please get off your iPhone while you're watching this and know that something's going down. And so they go to this, and we're right back at the party, and I just, oh, we're gonna see it. This poor girl. You can't lie on these shows. You can't lie when you got cameras around.
And all of a sudden, I see Chris. So he comes over a little, you know, so for like a good 2 minutes, I'm just like,
okay. So the reaction shots in this whole scene from Giselle, I really feel like are to make us feel like we are seen. Because even though Giselle is not watching these flashbacks of Chris doing nothing that Deborah said, there's still something about Giselle where she just, I feel like she's giving looks kind of like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. But it can also be taken as looks like, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's lying. If you guys watch it, I just really feel like they put in a lot of her reactions because they definitely touch down with us as an audience because we're watching this going, oh my gosh, I can't believe she's lying, right?
I'm just like looking straight, but you know how you can see someone from the side and then go.
And even that quick flash of that friend watching and listening to the story, it's so quick, but I'm telling you guys, what I saw on that friend's face is, I don't believe a word this girl is saying. It's so funny. It's just so funny to me.
Like looking like
And
that.
he's smiling at you in your face?
Yes, the eyes. Yeah, the eyes.
And she said the eyes, he's not even looking at her, right? They even put the chyron, the hilarious editors, Chris not staring at Deborah. He's looking at his phone. Yeah, he's got his elbow on the counter, but that's what you do when you're sitting on a counter. Oh my gosh, I was just like, no. And then when they come out of the flashback, again, they do the big transition, the big whoosh, and they do the sound effect, you know, and bring us back to full color.
Hi, I'm Deborah. He's like, hi, I'm Chris. I said, okay. I said, well, my husband's name is Chris too. He said, oh, that's a very common name. You know, a lot.
Okay, again, a flash to a friend giving that look like it could be, the look could be like, oh my gosh, just wait till you hear this next part. But the look could also be like, oh my gosh, my friend is such a liar. Why does she do this? You know?
A lot of us, Chris's, we're all alike. I said, oh, I like that pink.
Thank you.
I'm Deborah.
Deborah, Chris, nice to meet you. Pleasure.
My husband's name's Chris.
Oh, well, how about that?
A lot of Chris's.
Yes, yeah, it's very common, you know.
Okay, so, oh my gosh. So obviously that audio didn't match up with at all what Deborah was saying. Clearly Chris was just making conversation. In fact, it seemed to me like he didn't want to make conversation. It's sort of like, to me, it reminded me of that conversation that you have, like, I don't know if you've ever, I've been some places where people just want to make conversation and you're just not into it, you know, and you're kind of like, oh yeah, like, oh, like he even says like, oh, look at that. Like, almost like, okay, look at that, leave me alone, right? But then she says, oh, you know, whatever. She continues on. The main thing I want to show you guys about that flashback, first of all, we get a camera person cameo, ding, ding, ding. I love when I can see our camera people. They are so amazing. So I love that. That camera person that was in there, they were the ones that originally got that shot before where he was, you know, we could see in really clear view him leaning on the bar and her next to him. So obviously that camera person turned away, and obviously he's mic'd up, so we can still hear his mic. We can still hear the words coming out of his mouth. They get all of that stuff, no matter whether the camera has, you know, is on them or not. For instance, if I turned this camera and faced it out toward the window that I'm staring at right now, you guys would see the window, but you would still hear my voice clear as day. That's because I have a mic on, right? I have a wireless mic and the mic attached to the camera. The camera doesn't have to be staring at you for you to get the sound. So everyone who's mic'd up, you're hearing the sound, right? Obviously, we've heard hot mic moments before. We know all of this. They show this bird's eye view type of camera angle where they're really showing, you know, Chris leaning up against that bar. I could be wrong, but I'm quite sure, and I'm going to show you guys right now, this totally zoomed in. That is not footage of when Chris was actually saying those words to Deborah. It doesn't mean those words weren't said, they clearly were, but the editors had to find something that sort of matched with the voice.
I like that pink.
Thank you.
I'm Deborah.
Deborah, Chris, nice to meet you. Pleasure.
My husband's name's Chris.
Oh, how about that?
A lot of Chris's.
Yes, yeah, it's very common, you know.
I honestly don't know why they wouldn't choose the actual footage of him with her. Maybe he was walking away. Maybe it didn't have that like lean to it. I don't know, but I just don't see his mouth moving when the voice is going. But I could be wrong. So why don't you guys watch it? You guys tell me what you think. I've been wrong with some of this stuff before, but I was just like, you know, and it's not them trying to be shady. I'm sure they were just trying to pick a piece that made sense. Obviously, they had that bird's eye view camera going throughout the whole party because we saw it in the original episode. But I'm just curious why they would pick a piece that wasn't actually the time when they were talking. So yeah, interesting. I'd love to hear your guys' thoughts.
Now, you have never met this man before.
No, first time I met him. And then Eddie.
And then again, that reaction from Giselle to me just looks like Giselle is like, wait, this doesn't quite add up. But I think at the dinner table, it would look like Giselle is being like, what? That's so weird that he would do that. But I think to us as an audience, it's a reaction to it doesn't quite add up, right? And then they cut to Deborah and she's sort of awkwardly sipping her drink. I don't know why she looks like she just lied to me, maybe because I know she just lied, but they picked this reaction of her, just makes her look like she knows she just lied. It's just funny.
And then Eddie, that thing that's the name, Happy Eddie comes over.
Who's Happy Eddie?
Wendy's husband, I think.
Oh,
Yeah.
child.
So he
Not
comes-
Happy Eddie.
He comes over all smiling, like, hey, what y'all talking about?
So of course they cut to Eddie, who, oh my gosh, I didn't cover this scene, or I'm not going to, but that scene where Wendy goes home to Eddie and she tells him what Ashley said, that like, you know, that Eddie was flirting with Deborah or whatever because he was smiling. When Wendy and Eddie started laughing at the fact that it was over him smiling, I was like, oh my God, I think they're my favorite couple on Bravo. He's super hot. She's growing on me big time. And I really think they have like a deep connection. I loved that reaction so much. But of course, you know, the editors cut to him and he's like talking to Chris. G is there, he's laughing, he's smiling. We know Eddie as this guy. So of course they have to kind of show to us as a reference point, like, yeah, this is Eddie, happy Eddie, smiley Eddie, whatever you want to call him. That's who he is to us. It has nothing to do with him flirting with you. It's just crazy. And then, of course, they put that chyron in, happy Eddie laughing with the quotes around it. It's just gold. These editors are just so hilarious. They crack me up.
Okay.
So, and I introduced myself too. He said, oh, hey, Deborah, you know, how are you? He was very flirty. If I didn't know he was married, I wouldn't have known.
Deborah is a friend of mine.
Okay. So I loved this cut when she finishes what she said, and then they cut to her and she's fixing her hair. And there's this look to her. She looks crazy to me, like crazy, like Because, and I'm not saying she's crazy, because she was just sort of being lively and talking lively. And then all of a sudden they cut to her and she's totally serious.
Hey, Deborah, how are you? He was very flirty. If I didn't know he was married, I wouldn't have known.
Deborah is a friend of mine.
Have you guys ever seen someone do this where they're like, hey, how are you? And their expression shifts when they think that you're not looking at them, but they, they're totally become serious or look mad. I'm like, oh, they're crazy. Like something's wrong with them. And the way that they cut this makes her look crazy. She's laughing. Oh my gosh, happy Eddie. He was super flirty. And then they cut to her and she's super serious again. She's fixing her hair. And now Ashley comes in with this confessional, which I actually think is a little bit shady. Let's watch.
I've known her now for about a year and a half, but Sydney, Deborah, and Jules were together at the bar, and all of them witnessed what happened. And my friends are not liars.
To me, that's not an isolated.
So I just thought that was shady because she's like, I've known Deborah for a year and a half, sort of almost like throwing her under the bus. Like, I don't really know her that well, but all my other friends were there, and trust me, my friends do not lie. And even they put a little sound effect.
And all of them witnessed what happened.
A little knife sharpening sound in there to sort of illuminate that. I think it was like a little bit of a diss towards Deborah.
To me, that's not an isolated incident.
Right.
So I felt like with them trying to have a baby, that they're probably just going through a lot. And rather than...
I just love how these women always turn shade and like gossip into, they're just concerned, or, they use big words. Like, I'm just like, guys, just say like, we're just talking shit. That you're not concerned about her. You're not concerned about they're gonna have a baby. You're not concerned about, you're not concerned about that stuff. We know this about, why do you guys cloak it in trying to be good people? It just cracks me up.
And rather than her get into a situation where she could potentially end up like me down the road, have a husband that cheats on you after you have your baby, just be aware of what's happening when you're trying to conceive.
Well, did she appreciate when you told her?
No.
And then they did that reaction from Giselle where she's sort of flipping her hair over her shoulders like, oh, you said it, I didn't, sort of vibe. But it's also a little bit shady from Giselle.
When you told her?
No.
Oh no.
No.
You're a lying and vindictive bitch.
Do you just want to turn a blind eye? Because if that's the case, then just say so.
Well, I mean, you would
just
know.
Say. Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, so they do a flashback to Candace being like super upset, and they're saying like, you cannot, we can't bring this up to her, she'll go crazy basically. But I don't remember, I have to go back and rewatch that episode. I don't remember if that, yeah, it was coming out of some of these accusations, but Candace was definitely like worked up to that point. Like she doesn't just like lose her stuff, especially because I don't think she believes any of this stuff whatsoever. They're trying to illuminate what Ashley's saying, like, oh no, she's crazy. If you bring this up with her, she's crazy, which I think is just the worst because they're trying to make Candace look like she's like, so defensive over this, which makes you think, oh, it might be true, or other things that might have gone down in the past. I'm sorry, if you guys can hear the noise, that's the baby. I can't, let's just continue.
Dun, 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 dun. Thank you.
Next time I see him, we'll have a longer conversation.
Shots.
Okay, so this is what I was saying before. Remember that flash to Ashley before doing sort of a reaction, and you saw a seafood platter in the foreground. The seafood platter wasn't there yet. The seafood, oh my God, that's hard to say. The seafood platter is actually just coming right now. So any of the shots that you saw where, there was actually the platter in the foreground, it was obviously pulled to make the narrative work in that moment. And then I love how they cut to Deborah and she's like, yeah, we'll have a longer conversation. I'm just like, Deborah, like this, we all know what you're trying to do. We are not, we're here for it, 100%. But trust me, we are not fooled by you needing to like clear the air with Candace or whatever. You clearly just want some more airtime. It's okay. We are okay with it. But just, call it like it is.
Shots.
No, she's not gonna let you talk to her husband. Ever.
And what I would like to call out there is my MVE, my most valuable extra of this episode, which is that wonderful waiter right there. He actually looks like he's trying to like, hey, is everyone okay? Anyone need anything? But then he kind of does the thing like, you know what, I'm just gonna back away. I'm just gonna go. And to him, I say, good plan, because clearly they are totally engaged in this conversation. And in fact, we are as well.
Ever. Trust and believe.
Do I have to say something to Wendy about it now?
Eddie was a little bit more subdued than Chris.
You know, I feel like it's a little disingenuous.
So again, as Deborah says, you know, Eddie was more subdued than Chris. Although she just called him Happy Eddie. I wouldn't say happy is subdued, but I think what she's trying to say is he was less like, you know, really outwardly flirty as Chris was. Clearly, Chris was so flirty. But she's like, it's almost like, I don't want to say Deborah's walking it back, but maybe she's walking it back just a tiny, tiny bit. She's like, no, we don't need to do that. Do we need to involve, you know, I don't know. I feel like she's really comfortable piggybacking on the Chris stuff because there's been other allegations, you know, from Giselle. There have been other talks of things. So I feel like she's like, Ashley maybe talked to her and was like, dude, it's fine. Like, everyone's saying all this stuff about him. So if you do it, it'll actually work. You might get on the show, blah, 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 blah. But I think when it comes to Wendy, she's like, no, we're actually kind of good. And then the music comes in. The music is a little bit more energetic, a little bit more drivey as Ashley's saying what she's about to say.
Disingenuous if I know this, and if she hears about it.
If I were in that situation, as I have been, I always want to know.
Oh gosh. Okay, so, and then they cut to Deborah and she just looks a little bit like, oh gosh, what have I gotten myself into? That's the vibe I get from her, sort of like, yeah, it's just really funny to me.
I always want to know. And when it comes to your spouse, I don't think ignorance is bliss whatsoever.
Ashley, you got some work to do, sweetie.
You know damn well how this is gonna go.
And obviously Ashley is thinking of it almost like her duty, her civic duty to tell Candace about all this. She doesn't need to get into this, but clearly she does for the show, which we appreciate and we love because we love the moments that we get out of Candace from it. But yeah, it's just funny to me. I think she really feels like because she's like, because of what I went through in my marriage and now that I'm out of it, I can kind of be, I don't know, a resource or a go-between or a bridge to whatever people are going through. But it's just all bad. I feel bad to say this, but I really feel strongly that Ashley knows that Deborah is full of it. Like, you know how you just kind of know stuff about your friends? You're like, oh yeah, that's my friend, she's amazing, but she overreacts to things. And oh, that's my friend, she's amazing, but she, you know, tells big stories, you know? Or I think in case of Deborah, it's like, she's probably one of those friends who thinks that like everyone wants her. Like I have had friends like that before where they're just like, oh, like he just won't stop, you know, texting me. And I'm like, he's your client. Like he's supposed to do that. I'm just like, he works with you. What are you talking about? It's just a funny thing. Anyway, I don't know if you guys know, but I just feel that little tiny bit of vibe from Ashley that she kind of knows what Deborah's about. And she's kind of like, however the chips may lay, you know, it's not fun for Candace and it's great TV. Who knows what she's thinking? But you guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for being here in the new year. Let's get to 3,500 subscribers so that I can put out this fun scene that I had a lot of fun breaking down. It's waiting for that subscriber count to hit. So let's just do it. Thank you guys so much again for watching, subscribing, commenting, and all the things. And until next time.
And all of a sudden, I see Chris. So he comes over a little, you know, so for like a good 2 minutes, I'm just like looking straight. But you know how you can see someone from the side? Yes, the eyes. Yeah, the eyes. Like, hi, I'm Deborah. He's like, hi, I'm Chris. I said, okay. I said, well, my husband's name is Chris too. He said, oh, that's a very common name. You know, a lot of us Chris's, we're all alike. I said, oh.
All right. We're going to leave it there.